So where does God fit into this journey? Where does the universe, the cosmos, the heart of it all fit into our journey of healing, stopping tics? I received a really beautiful email from a brother in Australia. His name is Lee. And Lee Cramp lives in Sydney. And his email was so beautiful and offered a curiosity which I feel inspired to share some thoughts about. So I'm going to read out this email in the context of spirituality, a connection to the divine, thoughts, letting go of suffering. And I'm going to share some commentary as I go through this email. So if you are somebody that feels connected, or sometimes not connected, but has a grace that exists in your life through whatever path you're on, or whatever religion you're in, may you find some interesting perspectives here. So listen on. Today I even put on my mala beads because I was talking about spirituality. So here we go. Hey Dazz, I hope you're well. I am also trying to figure out the causes and cures of my tics. I propose an interesting and progressive discussion with you about the final, emphasized, cure for tics and their root cause. A collaborative discussion on tics, if you would be so kind or interested, for the sake of research and human progress towards health and freedom. It's a lofty intention, but let's get to it. If we are not our mind, but yet we let it rule over us, rather than vice versa, we can never cure tics no matter what we do, right? So the thinking here is that if we are not the mind, and yet we let the mind rule, then how can we possibly stop this thing? Unless we try and slowly heal the mind, body, and emotions. Sure. However, my main point is this. Through spiritual seeking, we can bypass this and dislodge from these sufferings altogether. So that's quite a comment, right? Through spiritual seeking, we can bypass and dislodge from sufferings altogether. I like the idea of this. I like the idea of being able to just seek God, and once we found God, everything dissolves. Because at one perspective of reality, that's true. We just keep seeking, and finally we dissolve into the nothingness and the oblivion of surrender. Right? And how could we possibly be in suffering when we are one with God? So this is one vantage point. I don't agree or disagree. It's a perspective of reality. And there are many people who have experienced such radical and profound miracles in the pursuit and the devotion to their God or their gods, depending on what belief system we are brought up in and brought up through, or we are connected to or associated with. I'll continue, and I'm going to share more on that later. I'm wondering about your thoughts on using the concepts and experiences present in the yogic path, but more broadly, the colorless path of spirituality and awakening, self-realization as a whole. And I like this because, to me, it's not just about one path. Whether you're Muslim or Christian or a yogi or all of the three or not, it doesn't matter. What matters is the pursuit of something greater. Right? And I love that distinction in this email. The colorless path, it is us all. We are it all. We are moving as one, even though we are all in different bodies, different physical bodies, different atoms are being presented here in this sea of this energetic soup that we know exists. A little bit about where I am from. I've had tics for 20 years or so, and I believe tics, or at least my tics, please advise me if it varies for you, are a result of physically manifesting internal reactions, not responses. I'm interested to know what the difference between reactions and responses is. in my mind that's quite similar to mental, emotional, fear-based thoughts that have been programmed into us as a coping mechanism during, after emotional, traumatic childhood situations. A way of regaining control and safety where there wasn't any. This could be seen as a form of OCD as well. It's kind of its own anxiety compensation disorder, though. I love this sentence. This encapsulates a lot of what I share. I think it's really, really well articulated here. So we have some trauma, some emotional experience that have happened in our life, right? And our knee-jerk reaction is to move or do something, and that's the way that we deal with it or have dealt with it. If we can move the body, we regain a sense of that connection to our body, even though the space around us is scary or fearful. So this is one way of seeing tics, absolutely. In my perspective, I don't know if it's only fear. I think the intensity of anger or shame might also be enough to create movements and tics. So it might not be just fear-based thoughts, because it might not be a thought as well. It might be a fear-based experience of life through the body. So what I'm noticing in this email is a slight cerebral detachment that I would want to encourage a more connected, embodied experience. Mental, emotional, fear-based thoughts that have been programmed into us as a coping mechanism during, after emotional traumatic. So programmed into us, yeah, like a reaction to take control. And this OCD, this addiction that we create, is a way to stay connected, right? And if we let go of this addiction, it's really scary to feel what's really there. If we let go of our addictions, whether it's alcohol or sex or whatever, we have to actually feel what's behind the reason why we do the addiction. And when we feel that and let it go, then we don't have this impulse to go and do the addiction anymore. And we have the same addiction here, the body sensations. The sensation is an addiction to a sensation in the body, a connection to something in the body that's there. So the answer seems to be facing fear, continuing on with the email, and denying the power of thoughts, choosing to respond to the uninvited mind guest, which is just to ignore and drop the thought and not remaining asleep to their illusionary nature, and refuse to engage in cyclical battles. Ideally, yes, we'd love to let go of these cyclical battles. That would be great. We cannot fight the mind or push it down. No, we don't fight the mind. Absolutely, I agree 100%. We don't fight the mind. No, because otherwise we're just... Who are we fighting the mind with? The mind. We're just battling ourselves. And he proposes then we ignore, release, and forgive. And I love that. I'm not sure if ignore is the language I would use, but release. And one of the ways we release might be through forgiving. Yeah, on the emotional plane, but not the mental plane. To then realize the safety of the present moment and presence in general. Mindfulness, even though it's really mind emptiness. This habit seems to also be a choice and has an undertone of addiction. It's a choice that requires a certain amount of XP to unlock access to reliably. Do you find this? I have to be honest, I'm not tracking this well. To then really realize the safety of the present moment and presence in general, this habit seems to be a choice and has an undertone of addiction. It's a choice that requires a certain amount of XP. Yeah, so the way I see this is that the experience that you gain on your path in order to allow yourself to release and let go of the mind, to be more comfortable and calm here in the body, because the mind and the tics are intertwined, right? I would describe it as The XP needed is the experience of being present with the body. The experience of being familiar and comfortable with the physical body. The experience needed is the presence with the matter that exists here. And the thing with spirituality, non-duality, and looking up to God is that it takes us out of here, the body, the matter, right here, right now. A lot of the religions in the world are set up for us to find something outside of ourselves, go seeking in the external authority that will take you where you need to go to, when actually it's all right here, right now. And God is as close as the cells in your body, not in the sky. And so to me, the tic, in a way, is your signpost to the cells in your body, because when you're present with that urge, and whether that urge is coming from the mind or the body, the urge will go. Because any impulse goes with awareness, the awareness will just melt it. The awareness will just melt it. And so if the impulse is still happening, then you're not with it. You're still being distracted somewhere else in obviously the mind. And so we come back to releasing the mind, letting go of the grip of the mind, relaxing into the body, surrendering out of the thoughts, but not fighting ourselves. Yes. So there are all sorts of different, let's say, energetic tricks and tools that you can learn and discover in order to release the intensity of the gripping of the mind. There are ways to do that, ways to open up the need to grip. And as we let go of the gripping, we can feel what's really going on here, inside of ourselves. So my question is, carrying on with the email, do all tics arise this way, or just specific cases, you think? I'm looking into recognizing and disidentifying from thoughts and resting in the awareness, pure consciousness, not the mind, which can help with tics a lot if practiced regularly through various yogic practices, especially Kriya Yoga, and generally deep self-realizing meditations with guided satsangs. Yeah, I love this. So I've been doing a lot of work with an organization called the Kriya Lightning Foundation over the last 4 years or so. So my experience of Kriya has been powerful and profound on my journey of healing. Because there's like an energetic mastery that's going on inside of us, which helps us see that relationship, the energy between the mind and the body. And so yes to realization and yes to embodiment. There isn't in this email that the biggest emphasis that I want to draw us to is the body, because we still have to get in the body, like guided satsangs, meditations, right, exploring non-duality and following along. Like, it's great and it has its place, yes, but it's won't get you the whole way, because you still gotta get to the body. You still got to be with the matter of the body and bring the light into physicality, right? So there's a difference between spiritual teachers who are slightly disembodied, sitting on a pedestal with that white man spiritual syndrome, right? Looking down on the world, telling people this: I am acting and speaking from God. Look at me, you should follow me. I'm your leader. La 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 la. Okay, One example is somebody like Muji. He's incredible. The grace that moves through him, the divinity that moves through this being. He's a powerful man. And his work is an extraordinary feat for a lifetime. And at the same time, he's not, is he embodied? Is he with the embodiment of life? I'm speaking just from my perspective. I don't know anything. Like, everything I'm speaking here is just perspectives that are coming through this being right now. But from my own experience on my path, I've had to get so close to my body. I've had to not just realize my connection to Christ consciousness and God and the universe and the oneness of it all. I've had to become so close to my muscles, my bones, my ligaments, the matter, the cells, the strands of DNA that I exist in through as of. Like, that's how close we can get. The answers are here, within, not outside. But yeah, teachers direct us to it. Okay. I'm looking into recognizing and disidentifying from thoughts and being resting in the awareness, pure consciousness, not the mind. Great. Which can help with tics a lot if practiced regularly. I agree. That seems to cure the root of most or even all problems in life, let alone tics, which is suffering the mind and all forms of it, ego, identity, memory, and the rest. Rather than grabbing at branches or leaves, like monitoring the effects of foods and substances on the nervous system, parasympathetic versus sympathetic, or treating muscular tension, etc. If there is no trigger, the rest is history. Although in the meantime, the methods you mentioned do seem very healthy and well thought out as management, but could they perhaps neglect the idea of a final cure? Oh, I love this. I love this question and this challenge. And I've hinted at it already in some of my responses so far in this video. Even in the discovery of the oneness of it all through satsang and kriya and non-duality teachings, you're still a body. You're still a physical body. It can't be healed up there when the trauma is still stored in the tissue of your physicality. The emotions aren't just swirling around, they're literally stored, crystallized in the fascia tissue. So we still have to do the work on the physical level. We can't just imagine it to dissolve on the non-physical. Having said that, I'm not saying imagining it dissolving on the non-physical might support the process. But you still need to then take inspired action in the physical to physically do it, to release it. And so a lot of my trainings is about getting people to the point where they feel inspired that, oh, it is possible to actually do this. A lot of people with tics and Tourette's don't even necessarily feel inspired that it's possible to change, because the current system that exists tells them it can only really be managed. And I disagree, as I've said many times in my emails and my courses. The entirety of this condition and conditioning can be dissolved. And so you might use the word cure for that. We can use the word cure. But it doesn't happen up there. It happens by being here. It happens by being so deeply connected to your body and aware of your body and present with your body. And your energy body is sitting in the physical body. Your emotional body is at peace and at rest. He goes on. I'm not sure how involved you've become in spirituality on this tic-solving journey. I know I have. But in spirituality, if we start recognizing the true being, self, or awareness, pure consciousness, and create distance between us and the mind and body. Identity, ego as a whole, but especially trauma and pain body, then we start being in full control and naturally choose not to tic. If we never fall back into a sleep mode again, that is. And we all have cycles of that. This is entirely possible as well. If we are not our mind, but yet we let it rule over us, rather than vice versa, we can never cure tics no matter what we do, right? Unless we try and slowly heal the mind, body, emotions. However, my main point is, though, through spiritual seeking, can we bypass this and dislodge from these sufferings altogether? So what I found is that my spiritual seeking took me up, up, up into extraordinary vibratory places where I melted into oblivion, into the nothingness of it all. I have had numerous, I'll share a few examples. One example is through psychedelics, right? So in explorations of psychedelics, it's very easy to have a momentary experience for an hour or many hours of the oneness of everything. And that creates a portal into a different way of seeing what reality and what life is. Somebody who's done psychedelics a few times can no longer deny the existence of something beyond, right? God, the cosmos, the intelligence, the one, the source. Like it's not possible. Like you can't deny it because you've experienced it. So it is. Right? It is so clear. Another example is through darshan with Amma, satsang with Muji, or holding hands with another brother who was channeling just this non-dual energy, which just took me into this like floaty like state of just melty, those experiences, no psychedelics used. But having experienced all those things, right? After gone up and experienced all those wild, incredible, and like powerful, beautiful experiences in relating to God, you still got to come back and come here. Because this is why we're here. We're here. And we might go somewhere else to escape the suffering for a short period or a long period, or to find the truth, or go on the hero's journey. But then we come back. There's nowhere else to go other than right here. And there's nowhere else to be other than right here. And it touches me, this question, because like when I look back at the last 10 years, that's the journey I've been on. Like I've had to go really far out in my connection to divinity. And for what reason? To come back. So we can be clever with the mind and think about it and intellectualize it and break it down and have all these clever words, but ultimately what matters is here. Right now. A beautiful question, an email. Thank you for touching me. So to summarize, in this email here, the final paragraph I will read out. Wouldn't spiritual awakening be the pure cure for, at the very least, thought-based tics? I don't know how we can, at the moment, define the difference between a thought-based tic, an emotion-based tic, an energy-based tic. They're all intertwined. I don't think they're separate. It would even cure the suffering of possibly incurable tics. And do tics arise outside of the triggered mind? I can't see how unless it's a physical, unconscious body only twitch, like what it seems to be for Tourette syndrome. Fuel for research for us both, I hope. What are your thoughts on all of this? I'd love to hear your opinions, as I have no one else to discuss the truth behind this rather than this rather interesting mystery. I love your work and your journey in finding treatments on tics. I've tried many of them myself, and it's all good management. The spiritual angle seems to be my only full salvation from this, though. Have you seen otherwise? This is beautiful. And so if I look back at my journey, it is true that I had to go on a spiritual journey to heal my tics. And it is true that actually in the work that I offer, I don't usually touch on God, divinity, universe, spirituality as much as maybe I could, or as much as it influenced me on my path. And so this email inspires me to want to maybe touch or connect more on this stuff going forward with this channel, Inner World Mastery. Yeah. So I'm not sure, Lee, like what your experience has been in your journey and how long you've been practicing your yoga and your satsangs and your meditations and your explorations. But I do agree that creating that space between the thinking mind and the physical body and the intensity of the emotions into the awareness to see, right, and to create just room to witness versus being tangled in it, that is powerful. Yes, that's very powerful. And I can see how you are finding the beauty of that, as I have done on my path too. Absolutely. Yeah. All right. Sending my love to all of you who have watched this. I'd love to hear your thoughts. I'd love to hear your commentary. Please share your reflections below, because we touched on some super deep stuff today, which I loved. Wow. So, sending my love from Bali. Peace out for now.